It's just a huge honor for me to bring Dr. Jaffer, DDS. He's the Chief Executive Officer and Chief Vision Officer of TREC Dental. He graduated from the University of Pacific School of Dentistry in San Fran in 2002 at the age of 22. Baby genius. Through his ethos of hard work, integrity, and giving back to his patients, staff, and community, he developed the TREC Dental Partnerships that operates 20 dental clinics in the Calgary area. And I know if you're an American, you don't know where the hell Calgary is because you're an American, but it's basically just straight up north of Montana, and it's south of where that one dentist is. Remember that Yar Zuck guy who bought John Lennon's tooth? He's in Red Deer, so he's about an hour south of Zuck, and he also is in the neighborhood of where Manu lived and passed away recently. But anyway, and so just think above Montana, and including 4 specialty clinics. And TREC Dental partnered with CUPS to operate a free dental clinic in Calgary, providing care to some of Calgary's neediest citizens. Jan regularly volunteers with Kindness in Action and Dentistry for All. He has been on 14 overseas dental missions, and he is also currently the chair of the World Partnership Walk Calgary, an annual event that raises money for international development. He is passionate about health and fitness and is the owner of TREC Fit Lab. Jan has been invited to speak at national meetings on practice management and team empowerment. He is currently a lecturer with Straumann Dental in the field of restorative implant dentistry. Giving back to the community, both here at home and around the world, is incredibly important to Jan. This is why he founded the TREC Dental, to bring together like-minded dentists who are passionate about dentistry and about making the world a better place however they can. He loves bringing his teams together for events around social responsibility. He participates in international missions to provide free dental care to communities around the world through Dentistry for All and Kindness in Action. TREC Dental is a values-based, socially conscious dentistry. They're a group of socially conscious dentists who believe in giving back to their community, locally and internationally, spend time volunteering at a variety of wonderful organizations like the Mustard Seed, Calgary Food Bank, In From the Cold, the World Partnership Walk, and many more organizations. They work internationally on improving the global community. They travel to provide dentistry to people who don't have access. They've traveled to Guatemala, Peru, Honduras, and Tibet. He also donated to early childhood education centers in Uganda and Pakistan through iRead. World Partnership Walk funds raised goes directly to support AFKCs. See, I go to KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, and you're just a great man that goes to AFKC. That's how we're different. While I'm eating at KFC, you're doing the World Partnership Walks funds with AFKC. But I would do that walk if you promised me it walked by 20 KFCs. So Jan, I called you, you didn't call me. I mean, I've heard so many amazing things about you. I've looked at your videos, I looked at your websites. I mean, if I lined 100 dentists up against the wall, and I said, dude, what just stresses you out? It's always people, whether it's the patient or the staff. I mean, here's somebody who got straight A's in calculus, physics, geometry, biology, chemistry, smartest people I know, and they'll get a Yelp review. Someone will say, I went there and he sucked. And it's like, now he's like suicidal, getting ready to jump off the Golden Gate Bridge. And they're thin-skinned. They don't like people. They'll lose 40 days and 40 nights sleep from a Yelp review from someone who probably passed out drunk behind a dumpster as we speak. And then I look at you, and you just reek of like love and kindness and gentle, and you're working with your team, and you're taking them to yoga, and you're just like this. I mean, you're like a nirvana dentist. I mean, you're just a spiritual. Where does all this come from?
You know what? I mean, we're lucky. We get surrounded by amazing people. You have amazing people around you. It makes life easier, and I think you attract that, right? I mean, I think one of the things about giving back that people do realize when they get an opportunity to do it is, although you're helping others, you're getting more out of it than what you're actually giving in most situations. Because that feeling that comes back, gets you more excited to get up the next day. And so what we've found and what we've been able to do is, get our teams to find that same sort of spirit of helping and get them excited about it. And all of a sudden you have a lot of people that really care. Not that other people don't. I mean, there's a ton of people out there that care, but give the people the opportunity to, and all of a sudden it just turns into something that makes it easy, makes it fun.
I mean, I spent a lot of time studying my guests and getting ready for these programs, believe it or not. And I couldn't even imagine what it'd be like if you even got upset or mildly upset. Really it's like you say you went to bed. I would call you the Dalai Lama of dentistry. And
It's a pro and a con though. I mean, and this is, a bit of a personal story, but one of my ex-girlfriends, one of her biggest problems with me was I wouldn't get upset. And she's like, well, how do I know you care if you don't get upset? I'm like, well, you can't get me upset. Life is too good. And so that was, so there is some downside to not getting upset, I guess. But if you get me upset, I mean, something's gone pretty sideways, I'm sure.
There's always a bad guy and a good guy, right? I mean, Hollywood does that. Every movie's got a villain and a hero, and it's always right or wrong. And then when you go to science, it's more like it's not right or wrong. It's up, down, left, right, forward, back. What are the trade-offs? I mean, if you want fuel efficiency, what is the trade-offs? And my gosh, I look at dentists, and we're at a strange crossroads. There's always been a bad guy. When I got to school in '87, it was capitation. So what that meant, the insurance companies who professionally lie, cheat, and steal. I mean, the only thing they want to do is sell the premium and then not pay any claims, and they're paid professional liars. That's what they do. That's how they make their money. And I would say this if I got friends in that industry, so when I say this, they would just laugh or whatever. But the bottom line is, look what they did back then in '87. They said, well, look, we give you on average $20 a month per head per person, but we think that you're incentivized, that instead of doing an MOD filling for $100, that you'll do a crown for $1,000 or whatever. And we don't want you to have that moral hazard. So what we're going to do is we're going to transfer the money directly to you, and then you take care of them. And I said, that's a neat social experiment. I think that's a cool experiment. And then when they transferred the money, the 20 turned into $7. It's like,
I heard about that.
You can't even make this stuff up. I mean, they couldn't tell the truth. Kind of like a president I used to know. Couldn't tell the truth if you put a gun to his. I didn't even know if he knew what the hell he was saying. But the bottom line is, and then it turned into. It was capitation, and then, it was HIPAA, and then it was OSHA. I remember one time I was so stressed out about OSHA, and that this was back in 1987, I actually called, I got to the operator, and I said, this is Dr. Fran, I'm a dentist, I need to speak to the OSHA director for dentistry. And it took tons of phone calls. Finally got him on the phone. And I said, buddy, every conference I go to, the OSHA man, I'm going to be fine. I need manuals. I've done all these courses. I've done all this training. And I can't, no one can answer this question. I had like 3 of them. He said, who is this? And I said, Howard Fran, I'm a dentist in Phoenix, Arizona. He goes, I'm looking up dentistry now. This was the head guy from OSHA. He goes, dentistry. Deaths per million per year, 0.00. He goes, mining. It was like 1% of all the miners died every year. It's like agriculture is like another percent. Construction, another. He said, if you see an OSHA instructor in your office, you call me and I'll fire his ass all the way from Washington, D.C. And that was at the time in the media where some poor farmer stuck his hands in a combine and cut his arms off. And he's like, there better not be any OSHA inspectors in a damn dental office. So it was the OSHA guy. And then it was the HIPAA monster. And, just all these monsters. And right now, the new monster on town is the DSO. And, multi-location. And, this DSO was so bad, but I see it like this. Number one, 2 out of 3 of their employees are women. Women always marry up, men marry down. So all the women dentists I know, their husband actually has a job and has a paycheck every week. And they're usually, if they're a dentist, the husband's a lawyer, a physician, a banker, whereas all my dentist friends, they have a professional stay-home wife because the kids are gone, they're in college. And I said, well, what do you do? Well, I stay home, raise your kids. Your kids haven't lived there for like 10 years and you're still spending $10,000 a month. So I see that this DSO, it's kind of like you either want to give orders or take orders. And a lot of intense men like us, they want to own the place. But there's just a lot of dentists that come out that they don't have that drive or ambition. They want to be employees. And you have, my gosh, how many locations do you have now? You have how many?
20.
20 locations and 4 especially. So right now I want to ask you is do you have more women than men dentists?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. And what is your ratio?
Well, it's just over 50-50. I mean, we do have, even on our partner side, I mean, we're an organization built of partners. So we have a partner in every office. So we don't own 100% of anything. TREC Dental is, a 50% owner pretty much. And there's a local partner that owns the other half of the clinic. And, more than 50% of our partners end up being female. But I mean, we have a lot of male partners as well.
Okay. But what percent of the dentists in Canada are women though? What percent?
I don't know the answer to that question. I think it's getting closer and closer to 50. I mean, it's got to be.
No, because you got all the people your dad's age. Is your dad about my age, or how old's he?
He is 67.
Damn, because he looks younger than me. And so yeah, roughly 80%. And let me see if I have a snapshot of oral health. I'll see. Because there's a big lab. No. I don't know. Let me go to but the dental school classes right now are 50-50 women. But you got this huge lag of the dentists that already graduated. So what percent of I'll say USA dentists are female? 34.5%. How many dentists are female? Among the 201,117 dentists working in dentistry as of 2020, 34.5% are female. So let's say a third, let's say because Canada is really the same, because if you look at Canada, 90% of Canadians live within 100 miles north of the US border, right? And I know that you're thinking in kilometers right now. I'm sorry, I do know metric, but only when I'm buying drugs and ammo. When I go get a gram of Coke and my 9mm shells, I'm totally metric. But everything else, I have to go back to your imperial math. So if 34.5% of Canadian dentists are women and you're 50%, then you're leaning towards female.
Yeah, we are. And I mean, it's a natural tendency to some extent. I mean, I think the younger generation is more 50-50. And our organization, we have, not younger dentists generally, but I mean, overall, I mean, our average dentist would be, in their, 10 to 15 year time cycle of being a dentist, not their 30 or 40 years being a dentist. So you're definitely going to get a bit more of an even match, I think, if you have younger dentists in the organization. So we have 60%. I just got the numbers. Somebody overheard me and they gave me the numbers. So we have 60% female.
And I feel so rude inviting this very nice, sweet guy named Jan onto my show and then ask him a bunch of belligerent, especially since you're Canadian, where all the Canadians, they're so nice. But when you say partnerships, let's go there, because when you say partnerships, there's a lot of dentists that they go into a DSO and they buy a partnership, and then they realize that if you don't own 51%, it doesn't matter if you own 49 or 1. I mean, if I own 51% and you own 49, you don't have any claim against me. You know what I mean? If I say we're going right and you say left, I say up, you say down. So now when you get into something like owning a share of Amazon, and there's a gazillion of you, including Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, then when I'm a limited partner in every company of a stock that I own, I know I can't call up the CEO and say, turn left at this next light. So where do you draw the line between, you can't tell Warren Buffett what to do or what stock to buy or hold, but, if on these partnerships, how clear is it to everyone that majority rules?
Not at all, because we don't play by that. I mean, half of our partnerships are 50-50. We don't need to be at 51%. We don't feel that that's
half
necessary.
Of your partnerships are 50-50?
Yeah.
Your attorney would be shot in the United States.
Right.
There's not one attorney in the United States that would sign off on that.
Right, but here's the thing: is that they don't.
Oh, it was a Canadian attorney.
We are Canadian. And if they don't want us here, then we don't need to be here. Like it's. I mean, it really is set up as we're going to be successful together. I mean, that's the whole goal. And so, if they want to get rid of me and my father and say, you know what, we're done, they can do that. And, we could do the same. But the problem is that we need them and they need us. And that's when a partnership actually works, when both sides are, desperate for the other side. I mean, it's that symbiotic relationship. And so, we put ourselves at risk, I guess, some people would say, but for us, it doesn't feel like a risk because we need to make sure that there are some evens. Now, I don't want to lie to you. Some of our new partnerships are more 40-60. So I will be honest, we've shifted a little bit, but only because there's a few more of us in the group now. And so we're trying to, stabilize a longer term structure, but we still have a shotgun clause on everything. If they want to get rid of us, they can get rid of the 60% as easy as we can get rid of the 40% if they, they start a procedure. So we don't look at that as a problem. We are all dentists. We got no money coming in from outside. We need each other as much as the next person does. And so I think that's why we've been successful, really. And our goal is not to grow to 100 or 200 or 1,000. I mean, that's not the direction we are. We live in Calgary. We have all of our clinics here in Calgary, and we just managed to, run some pretty cool clinics with some great staff that care and want to give back. And it's fun. It's fun every day. And we now have some pediatric dentists that have joined us because they, interestingly enough, the reason that we partnered with this pediatric group is because they were the ones who originally got us down to going into Guatemala every year. And we've gone down to Guatemala with them for the last 10 years. And we said, why don't we just work together? And they said, absolutely. And so we joined together truly based on our values. I think it's one of those funny things that I get into a lot of interesting conversations. You want to get controversial. I don't think you can be values based and have bonuses. And I think every organization out there says, oh, we're values first. That's what we care about. We care about our people. And then you turn around and say, how do you pay people? Well, we pay them a wage and then we give them a bonus at the end of that. And I said, well, then how did that affect your values? Oh, well, I mean, we need to hit numbers. I mean, that's what DSOs do, right? We hit numbers. I mean, we don't have targets for our offices. We don't have metrics. Our offices don't have numbers that they have to follow.
So I always remember where you are in Edmonton because you're actually straight above Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah.
And have you ever made that drive?
I've driven to Vegas and kind of gone through some of those areas along the way. Phoenix. It's gorgeous.
That is one of the greatest vacations I ever did. Was a 6-week drive in our RV. You can't even make this out. We drove to San Diego, all the way up to Pacific, all the way up to Vancouver, all the way over to Minneapolis, St. Paul, but we went up to Calgary, and then we went to Minneapolis. My sister at her nunnery. She lives in a nunnery in Lake Elmo, and then we drove down to Kansas, and then we went back, and then when I got to Phoenix, Arizona, the next day I said, told my staff, go get that thing washed and everything, but take it back to the RV place because it kind of feels rumbly when it drives. I couldn't explain it, and about an hour later, I get a call. I'm in the middle of a root canal, and they go, the guy wants to talk to you. I said, just you talk to it. No, he needs to talk to you. I said, well, just go make the decision, Howard. Howard, go talk to him right now. So I go over there and talk to him. He goes, what the hell did you do? The A-frame's completely broken. He goes, I'm not even legally allowed to weld it. He goes, it's the frame of your RV. I said, well, what's the solution? And he goes, it's scrap. So I paid $87,000 for an RV and from San Diego to Vancouver to Minneapolis to Kansas and back, and had to throw the damn RV away at the end. I probably could have stayed at a Hyatt every night for 87 grand. But anyway, that is the most.
Driver, I guess. Would you drive?
No, what it was is when we were in New Mexico, we stopped by a dentist friend of mine, and we went out elk hunting for the night, and we got off road. So I'm following him. I'm following Craig Steichen off-road in RV, and the doors are flying open, and the boys are loving it, and we're tracking elk, and it was just a blast. But that last little elk hunt at the end cost me an entire damn RV. But it was all worth it. It was fun. But if you ever drive, and you made it to Vegas, that's the drive. But man, you drive up to northern Arizona, you can either go one way around the Grand Canyon, Vegas, or the other way. Going up to Salt Lake, oh my God, Idaho, the Cascades, Montana. I mean, half of that drive, you could take a still picture and send it to someone, and they'd think it was from another planet.
I agree. Yeah, we used to have a condo in Idaho on a lake somewhere, and we would go down every year and just spend some time. It's just gorgeous.
Okay, so I want to go. I'm going to hold your feet to the fire on this. You said, I thought you said, so you have 20 dental clinics, which includes 4 specialty clinics, right?
Yeah.
And they're all in the Calgary area, right?
Right.
Okay, so how do you, in your amazing mind, balance individual incentives versus team-based incentives and the partnerships? I mean, instead of, you said they were 50-50, and then you said some of the newer ones are maybe 40-60. Why don't you go total Berkshire Hathaway and everybody just a smaller and smaller and smaller piece of the whole damn pie? Where do you draw the line between the individual incentives of I want you to make this office rock versus I want the whole organization rock? Because when you go individual incentives, when you start to open up another location, someday someone's going to say, well, you just cannibalized us. We used to get patients from that area. And you're like, dude, that's 10 miles away from your office. Well, and they'll show you 5 charts. So how do you reconcile, we're all for one for all, we're all going to sing Kumbaya, and we're all going to own a part of the whole enterprise like you do when you buy one share of Apple,
Right.
versus the individuals?
Totally. So, up till now, we've been individuals, but, our long-term partners, now the guys that have been with us 10 years or longer, that's why we went to that 60-40 split. We gave them 10% of the new growth that's happening. So Dad and I gave up a portion, and the local partners, so that there's a bit more of a teamwork around that. But with the new locations, honestly, we've shown our partners that, you can own 100% of one clinic and have 100% of the headache and take home X number of dollars, or 40% of one of our clinics have, half the headache and take home the same amount of money. What would you prefer to do? And we really need a local partner because we want them to truly take care of the team that's there and the patient that's there. And so we don't want them to worry about the rest. And so we found the success with having them, more tuned into their individual location, even though we have built offices that are close to the other ones. And I know that could cause an issue. I mean, for us, the way we do things, the way that we keep things individual, the way we really try to help our partners grow, so far nobody's had an issue. I'm not going to say that it's never going to happen, but with the 20 offices we have, at some point we probably have to stop growing in Calgary because we will get too close to ours. But the closest office we have to the next office is under a mile, and that hasn't really caused us a problem yet. So.
And why? What is your goal? Your father's a dentist, Nor, and now you're a dentist, and my God, not even 0.1% of dentists have 20 dental clinics. Why? I would think that at this point in your life, you already realize that someday you'll be in all the provinces of Canada.
I don't think so, because one of the things that we do is I say, if I can't touch my clinics, and I joke about it, but I actually mean it seriously, like physically touch the clinics within about a half an hour of time, I don't know that I want to be there. We really are a hands-on organization because our goal is to turn this into being able to do more and to give more back. And so, being in Calgary, having all of our clinics, we can really move the needle in Calgary. If I open one clinic in Toronto, one in Vancouver, one in Winnipeg, how am I going to make a difference out there? I don't know that I can. I've had people ask us to come to some of the other provinces, but for us right now, knowing that we can change the way things are done and have a nonprofit, dental clinic here in Calgary that can see people for free. That's the goal. The goal is to just have enough that we can do free dentistry for more people.
Okay, so you just said something very teachable that really hit home for me. A lot of people complain about their childhood, right? I have 2 friends who both of them had a severely abusive alcoholic father, right? So one of them has never touched it in his entire life. And I'm like 59, I'd say he's probably 40. And the other one blames on that's why he's an alcoholic and that's why he's abusive and everything because he learned it from his dad. And I was like, come on, you can't make this up. My father, greatest guy ever, loved him to death. He was my idol. Because he delivered bread for Rainbow for 10 years. Then he decided he was going to bet on himself, and he stepped out and became an independent owner-operator, and he bought a Sonic Drive-In franchise, and that grew to 9 locations, and everything was great and honky-dory. But he had some big major problems. That's what I learned from. Number one, he outsourced his accounting to Carol's Accounting, and he oftentimes didn't know his number. And I swear to God, I was never going to outsource my numbers. So my first manager was a bookkeeper, Lori. She's been here. And the next one was a bookkeeper, Stacy. And the next one, Suzette. And then I have an independent auditor that comes in one day a month to audit everything and try to find something wrong. And so I learned that from my dad. Second thing was just what you said. He had 5 Sonics in Wichita that he could touch every day. I mean, I can't tell you how many nights on school nights that I would drive. They all closed at 11. I would drive to each one of them, get the deposit, and then put it in Northwest National Bank or whatever the hell it was. But he wanted to go national because, that's what you do. He's national. So what did he do? He went north to Abilene, Kansas, and Kearney, Nebraska, and then he went east to Louisville, Kentucky, and he went south to Childress, Texas, and he didn't go west. But those are the 4 that ate all of his profits, all of his stress, because if he had a problem in Childress, it was a 6-hour drive. He had a problem in Louisville, Kentucky, it was a 12-hour drive. And a lot of times, me or my mom or one of my sisters would have to jump in the car for some emergency situation. It's an emergency, but first you have to drive 6 hours north or 6 hours south, or you have to go through the damn St. Louis bridge to highway to, it's just crazy. And what you just said is another succinct deal that anytime I see a DSO, again, let's go to definitions. It starts off, you're a solo practitioner and you bought all these assets, rent, mortgage, equipment, bill, computer, insurance, all that, and you're only open 32 hours a week. So your asset is closed 81% of the week. That's not very bright. And that's why the emergency room visits are 8.5% odontogenic in origin. And so that doesn't make sense. So you get a partner and it's more fulfilling and it's more rewarding. There's 2 dentists. It's more intellectually stimulating. It's more competitive. And you do all that. And then, so that's go from solo to group. And then you go to group to multi-location. So now you go to another office in Calgary. Say you got north, south, east, west. Now you got scales of economy for billboard, radio, TV, whatever. But then someone on the other side of Canada says, well, I want to just merger and acquisition and buy you. Well, now they buy you. Now you have a second layer of management who wants 14, 15% off the top. Dude, you don't even pay 15% in total lab and supplies. And they need that much for their investment in you, for Wall Street. It's that second layer that doesn't work. And you've already realized that maybe you wanted it to be a 5-layer cake. Doesn't matter if you want it to be a 5-layer cake. It only works with 1 layer of management. And I do not see this working. And all these people that tell me how it works, well, okay, they're the same people who couldn't go public on NASDAQ if they went to Goldman Sachs with a ski mask on their head. There's only 3 publicly traded ones, 2 in Australia and 1 in Singapore, 1 300 Smiles, Pacific Smiles in Melbourne and Sydney, Australia, and Q&M in Singapore. There's no example that these other layers works, and you've already realized that. And I learned that when I was a baby watching my dad make that huge mistake, and I would never make it. So, my God, we're like twins separated at birth. They just cut the hair. They cut us too close, and you got all the hair, and I didn't. But
I know, man. It's disappearing. I'm gonna be with you here pretty soon. I feel like.
So you realize that you don't want to have an organization that goes all the way to Quebec.
No, I mean, it's efficiency, right? And I mean, when you look at that, and I think you hit the nail on the head, is you have to start, everybody has to make money along the way. And the more people you have, the more levels of payment that you're making. And at some point, we've talked to a number of the DSOs in Canada, and, we run numbers and we talk a little bit about that. And to be honest, they can't get to our level of efficiency. And they're fine with that. They don't feel like they need to. But so they said, well, but you should join us. And I said, well, why would I join you to become less efficient? And they don't have a great answer for that, because they said, oh no, we're going to take all your headache away. But I'm like, well, we've got a great team. Our headache's under control. We don't have a ton of headache. And so we like it. We're not responsible to anybody else. I mean, that's probably the best part about it. We're responsible to each other, but we don't have anybody else that we're responsible to.
So you seem like you've made a career out of self-reflection.
I do my best.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who just do not practice any form of self-reflection. You know what I mean? Now, some people don't have to, like me. I mean, I've never even been. I can't even say the word because I've never had to say it because I've never been wrong. But you hear all these statements bad about DSOs. What's fair and what's just like whatever? I mean, what criticism do you hear from dentists, doctors of dental surgeries, bitching about DSOs that's not fair, and which ones are fair?
Yeah, so that's actually a great question, because I think that, I mean, at the end of the day, I think every dentist and anybody who gets into this world wants to take care of patients. I don't think that anybody's out there saying, let me screw the patient over to make a buck. I don't think you got into dentistry that way. And I don't think as you grow, that's ever the case. The the challenge is that when you have people that are not dentists run an organization, they are looking at things differently. They have to be, because they've got money coming from private equity and they have to make sure that there's a return to that investor. And so, although patients should and always do come first for the dentist, I think you have to be careful as to what the primary focus is, because who are you paying? Who's ultimately responsible? I met a gentleman just recently that's starting a DSO, and he said, we're so similar and we're going to do this together. And I said, where did your money come from? And he said, well, private equity. And I said, so we're not the same. We never will be. Because when you have somebody else in the game, there is some level of, somebody needs to get paid, and there's a return on equity, right? And the concern that I have, and here's the thing, is I don't know what the future lies. And somebody says, well, who are you going to sell to at some point when you decide to retire? What happens? I don't know the answer to that question. That's a hard question for me to answer, because there's not a single dentist that could buy 20 practices and say we could make it work. But I do feel strongly about dentists owning their own practices and being the ultimate decision maker in how things happen, because dentists, in my opinion, will always put patients first. And if we start to get into what's the return on equity for the next practice that we build, I feel like I should get into real estate. That's the return on equity game. You buy something, you get a 5 or 6 cap, and you're in good shape, or whatever you're looking for. Dentistry is a great field. We love dentistry. We make good money. I think that we should all be terribly excited about the people that we touch, and the people's lives that we change by taking pain away and giving beautiful smiles. But we're ultimately responsible for our patient, and that's where we always have to remember that that's the focus. That's the reason we got into it. And so when we get to make that ultimate decision, I think it makes a huge difference. And so I do think that we have to be careful with DSOs. I don't think that they're all bad. I know a lot of the guys that run some of these big DSOs, and I don't think that I do think they care. I think that they want to do the best job that they can. They're in there to also make lives of people easier. But when I go in, we don't really buy many practices. I guess that's another part that I should probably say. We build most of our practices, and we have people come to us and say, well, would you buy our practice? And I said, so what are you looking for? Because if you're looking for the biggest bang for your buck and the most money that you can get out of your practice, you're talking to the wrong guy, because I won't pay you as much as one of these larger DSOs. They will absolutely pay you more. I'm like, if you're looking to come in, maybe partner, get some of your equity now, get more equity later, because we'll make this practice better and make sure your patient is taken care of, you're talking to the right person. Guess how many people have sold to me?
None.
Yeah. One.
One.
One. Because he came to us and he said, I know what you're doing, and I would rather not take the money. I'd rather you run the practice. Literally one. Everybody else I talked to went to the DSO, the larger DSOs, and took the money. And I don't knock them for it at all. That is not a knock on anybody that I've talked to. It's just a different way of looking at things. And at some point, dentists do need to get their equity up. And so they figure out ways to make that happen. But yeah, I see the benefit of it. I think that there are benefits of scale. I think that you can help more people. I mean, you look at some of these U.S. organizations and the foundations that they've created to help people do more and take care of these people that don't have good quality dental care. And I think that that's great. I think the DSOs have an opportunity. I think they have a huge opportunity to really affect the lives of so many people, because they can do it so much easier with they can change 100 clinics, 1,000 clinics in a day to continue to give back. And, as I talk to people, they say, oh, we have clinics that give back. I say, but do 100% of your clinics do free dentistry at least a day a year? And they say, well, no, we can't force anybody to do that. I said, well, that's the difference, right? If you start an organization where that is who you are at the starting point, then that's always going to be what you do. And so it's not asking, we're starting to work with another organization here in Calgary called the Alex Bus. And they said, well, we don't want you to convince any dentist to work with us. I said, if dentists work with us, they don't need to be convinced to do free dentistry. That's part of the ethos of the organization. We're not going to do anything different. And so that's where I think DSOs have a huge opportunity. I think they could do so much to change the way dentistry is done. And some of them already are. That's the great part about it. But I think that we need to look at, both sides and look at the impact, because a DSO can make so much more impact than a single dentist can at the end of the day. And that's what we tell our staff. It's like, somebody asked me, don't you make enough money? I said, after I had one clinic and I was working with my dad, I made enough money, but I couldn't make the impact that we wanted to. And so the exponential growth that we've had, we now have 200 employees. Well, guess how many patients and the amount of work that we can give back when you have 200 people in your organization versus 10. It's 20 times that amount, and I think it's a huge difference.
Yeah. My gosh, you have said so many things. It's making my head spin. You just seem very well grounded and have thought out all these details. I mean, the fish rots from the head down. I mean, I'm turning 59 this year. I made 4 children. They were dependents on me. Now they've flown the nest. Now all 4 own their own home, and they've made 6 dependents. And I know when their 6 dependents make their first dependent, I'll be out of here. And so I'm not thinking about my practice. I understand the circle of life. I kind of get it that you don't all good things come to an end. And when my grandchildren, when my little Taylor Marie or my little Evelyn or my little Raya Roo the kangaroo goes to a dentist, she has to go to a dentist. Dentistry's been around for 200 years. It's been around since the first Pierre Fichard started the dental specialty of medicine. Dentistry is a specialty of medicine. Orthodontics isn't a specialty of dentistry. It's a subspecialty of dentistry. At least get the math right. You have physician, and Pierre Fichard said, we're not barber surgeons anymore. We're a specialty of medicine. Orthodontists are a subspecialty along with 12 others of that. And if she goes to the dentist and it's owned by Wall Street, and they're saying, well, dude, don't do a sealant. That'll prevent decay. Don't put fluoridated water in. That'll prevent decay. Why would you do an occlusal when you could do a crown? And you see it in these DSOs, office managers, telling people, well, how many crown opportunities you have today? This shit's a crown opportunity. Can you open up G.V. Black's book and tell me what the hell a crown opportunity is? I mean, take your Wall Street bullshit and go somewhere else. And dentists need to stick together that the bottom line is only a dentist is going to do the diagnosing and the treatment planning. Now, publicly traded people can do real estate and facilities and supplies and labs, and they can do all that stuff. But the minute they cross the line into diagnosing and treatment planning, then that's the tough part with insurance. And I don't have any faith in the insurance companies, because the biggest dental insurance company is Delta Dental. I mean, they have like a third of the market. When I look at those guys. Number one, when you tell them to come on the show, only 2 have had the balls to come on the show. And the other 2, and I said, well, you can take the video, you can edit it, whatever. Well, I'll work with you. They don't even want to come in because it's not in their heart. Because they answer the questions like my Taylor Marie. What if she lives in Beeville, Texas, and she needs a root canal? I don't want her to go to a guy where 1/4 of his root canals are extracted 3 years later, and Delta has that data. They know that because they're paying for the root canal, they're paying for the retreat, they're paying for the extraction. Where's the 5-star system? Where's she went to this endodontist, it's a 5-star. Well, 5-star Mercedes usually costs more. I would expect the endodontist to cost more. But here's some dentists that got some 4-star ratings. But here's some dentists that got a 1-star rating and a quantitative, transparent deal where, I'm sorry, but, the average posterior white composite, tooth color composite lasts 6 years. Well, Jan's lasts 9 years and Howard's lasts 2 years. Okay, well, don't go to Howard. Go to Jan. So look at Continuing Ed. I mean, you would think, since they're paying for all the retreats, that if I went to deltadental.org today, there'd be at least 1,000 online classes to do dentistry better, faster, easier, higher quality, lower cost? Okay, well, hallelujah. Let's go to deltadental.org right now. And let's see how many online CE courses are on there. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, so I don't trust the insurance companies. I did 30 years ago when the CEO of Delta Dental of Arizona, Ed Judd, a good old boy from Missouri, you can meet, have lunch, and talk humans. But I've seen it go completely from that element to just like now when you talk to them, it's taped, it's videotaped, it's attorneys. You know what I mean? It's just whatever. So I don't want, like right now, Kaiser Permanente owns 9 dental offices in Oregon. Well, I don't want Taylor Marie and Raya Rue to go to a damn dental office owned by an insurance company because that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about dentistry. She needs to go to a dentist. And if it's owned by Kaiser, it's not owned by a dentist. It's not run by a dentist. If it's owned by Wall Street, they just see everything as a profit opportunity. So if Wall Street owns all the DSOs and the insurance companies own all the dental clinics, the insurance companies that have 0 continuing education deals on their deals, where is Taylor going to go when she needs a dentist? That's all I'm worried about. Yeah. And, it's been around 200 years, and when she needs a dentist, there's got to be one person in Beeville, Texas, that's actually still a damn dentist, and that is what we will protect at all cost.
Well, I agree. I think we need to. I think it's important that the dentists, work for dentists and partner with dentists, and it is important because we're going to make sure that the patient is always taken care of first. I mean, that's why we got into dentistry, right? I mean, that's always a concern that I have when I talk to people. I said, we got into dentistry to help people. Right? You wouldn't have got into dentistry and just staring at people's mouths for 8 hours a day if you didn't care about actually making people healthier. And you look at our dental assistants and our hygienists and the rest. I mean, we love the job that we do, but I mean, you got into it to change people's lives. I mean, there's no question. And so I think that we need to continue to change people's lives while we do things.
So the bottom line is I love competition, but here's another thing I say, if someone says, well, what is bad about a DSO? And they tell you everything's bad about it. I say, okay, now if you're intellectual, now do the inversion. I mean, you showed me addition, now show me subtraction. You showed me multiplication, show me division. Now give me the same passion of why you love DSOs. I could do it for Delta Dental. My God, if you subsidize anything, it gets more of it. Ask the government that. You subsidize corn, weed, anything you subsidize, you'll get more of. Anything you tax or regulate, you'll get less of. When I go to countries that do not have dental insurance, the dental industry is a fraction of the size. I mean, my God, imagine what would happen to the cell phone industry if all the employers were subsidizing cell phones. And the only reason they subsidized dentistry is because Roosevelt, during World War II, put a freeze on all wages because, the government, they always think in Washington, D.C., one guy knows how to make a better decision than all 300 million people. When you show them, like in Russia, like when Moscow told you what to plant, a country had to import wheat, and they had more farmlands in Canada and the United States. And then in the United States, where you didn't tell them what to plant, we were a wheat exporter. I mean, you just, and economics has proven that every unit of distance in between the data at hand and the decision maker, as you increase the distance, the quality of the decision goes down. So there's just not even a reason for a centrally planned economy or a centrally planned regulation. But when you go to all the countries that don't have the insurance industry, or putting salespeople in there and calling on businesses, trying to get them to subsidize dental benefits that the employer does, not because he's into dental health, but because he thinks it's going to attract and retain great workers, it's a great plus. I mean, if you sit there and say Delta Dental is a zero-sum negative, well, first of all, there is no such thing as negative. The opposite of right is left, up's down. So when the world's binary at the very basis, I mean, and that's not even counting space and time. So if you can't look at DSOs, Taylor Marie. I mean, if she fell off her bicycle and broke off her front tooth in Phoenix, Arizona, you'd find gold before you found a dental office open. I mean, and you go to the emergency room, 8.5% are odontogenic in origin. I mean, my homies take off Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There's no dentists open, especially in the 80s. My God, there was no dental schools here, none in Utah, none in Nevada, no fluoridated water. The dumbest dentist on the corner was making $150,000 a year on a 4-day week, and but the patients were screwed because they had to walk around for 3 days. In fact, back then it was on average 10 days to get a dental appointment for a new patient. And DSOs rolled into town because our governor said if you're licensed to do dentistry anywhere in the United States, you're licensed to do dentistry in Arizona. And now 18 out of 100 dentists in Arizona work for DSO. And finally, we have 7 to 7, 7-day-a-week dental offices. So my tailor won from competent. Now the dentists don't like it. I don't care about the dentists. I don't care about the dentists, the dental manufacturers, the insurance, everything on the top line. Dentists, insurance, manufacturers, all that. They're all divided by the patient. And I got one eye on the patient and one eye on cost. And if we don't use our brains to make everything faster, easier, higher quality, lower price, and smaller, then my tailor won't have the freedom to afford to go to the dentist. So you know, there's a trade-off on everything, and I think that we're so educated, we can work through this.
I agree. Insurance companies, if we didn't have insurance companies, we wouldn't have the jobs that we do right now. There's no way. I mean, I go to Guatemala every year. They don't have dental insurance. I mean, they have a lot of problems. You know, been around the world doing dentistry. It's nothing like what we have in North America. So we're lucky to have that. And you know, even with the DSOs, you say, well, what's the good part about it? Well, if they can take care of your HR and your payos, your bills and all that other stuff that dentists don't like to do, and you can get back to doing dentistry, that could be a benefit. So there's got to be something that they take off of your plate to allow you to focus on patients. You know, that's what we do for our offices, and that should be always the goal, is that the focus of the dentist should be on the patient, and it shouldn't be on necessarily running the business unless they have that skill set or they have a great manager that can help them do that, because dentists need to treat patients. I mean, there's no question. That's exactly it. And you're right. I mean, we need to make sure that patients come first, and that we're trying to do everything that we can to make it simpler for patients. I saw one of your posts just on Instagram a couple of days ago about you have to stand in line for the government and you have to wait 5 to 10 days to get into a dental office. I mean, to me, that's crazy as well. Like, you should be able to get in if you have a problem. I mean, our policy is if you call us and you have an emergency, we see you today. Doesn't matter, you know, as long as you call during the day, but you'll be seen today if you have an emergency. You know, if you new patient exam within 48 hours. But we can't leave people in pain or discomfort on the street somewhere or going to hospitals. It's just, that's unacceptable as well. And so I think that we have to continue to lower that down. And there's one of your posts that I saw that just kind of spoke to me. It's like, yeah, we don't want to wait in lines. People hate lines. Lines don't make any sense to anybody.
Yeah, I made a post. You only see people waiting in lines in 2 industries, and that's healthcare and gosh darn government. And I could go out and buy a Mercedes Benz right now. I could buy a microwave, a TV. I could have a hooker and a pizza delivered in 30 minutes. But if I wanted a cleaning, oh my God, it's going to be 10 days. And here's the government. That's what scares me about half the population is every time they have a problem, they run to the government because they're not wise enough to read enough history books to realize that for 5,000 years. I mean, you said you lived in Uganda at one time?
My parents did. That's where they were.
Your parents did. I mean, Idi Amin. I mean, you think Idi Amin would be the poster child of not trusting the government. And my gosh, so here in Arizona, the government decides that now marijuana is legal for even recreation, right? Okay, well, how many people in Arizona are in prison right now for using marijuana a long time ago? I mean, a 5-year-old's asking, does this mean my daddy gets to come home? I'm sorry, they're idiots. So now your mommy can go buy marijuana while your daddy's in jail. And a 5-year-old, I've heard him say, a 5-year-old say in Apache Junction, well, then why can't daddy come home? Because they're completely insane. And if you think your team is better than, I mean, basically this whole country, they get to pick between voting for a donkey and an elephant and an ass and you know, blue and a red team. And you're supposed to be willing to die to pick between a donkey and an ass and an elephant. I mean, it's like I don't even care anymore because I think that people are so stupid for putting up with this bullshit. And then when you go to the dispensary, I did that video from there. There's like a gazillion mile long line. Well, why? Because they sell the little precious licenses. Everything's for money. Money's the answer. What's the question? No one gives a shit about freedom, justice, and liberty and truth and all that stuff. So you see this mile-long line around the dispensary, while some of those babies have a dad in jail for smoking it 5 years ago and sentenced for 10. I can't tell you how much I hate the government. I think I just hate stupidity, and the government is a big part of that. And then the dentists, they think they're patriots, and they're some of the most entitled, lazy son of a guns. Like, it'll be 4 o'clock. Someone will call in, oh my God, my tooth hurts. And they go into their religious judgment mode. Well, you should have called at 8 o'clock in the morning. Oh, I don't know, receptionist. Maybe you should lose 20 pounds and start jogging. The only person I've ever met that was perfect was me. I don't think anyone else is perfect. And we all make stupid stuff. And when they have a toothache, I remember, you know who taught me this? It was my oral surgery instructor. It was Brett Ferguson, oral surgeon, Kansas City. It's about 1985. I graduated in 87. This is my first time in the oral surgery residence. And this guy, we came into the oral surgery, like, all beat up, fight, this, that. And I'm sitting there asking all about, well, what happened, the fight? Did they call the cops? And right in front of the base says, hey, doc, right now, you know what this guy needs? He needs oral surgery, okay? He doesn't need a preacher, a police, a judge, a witness. That's not what we do. He's a human that needs oral surgery. So can we kind of shut the blank up and focus on the task at hand? We got to sew up this laceration and all this like that. And I realized, that's right, man. When you come to me, you need a dentist. You know where your preacher is, you know where your lawyer is, you know where your mama is, you know where everybody else is. But right now you need a dentist, and I don't need some damn receptionist saying, well, you should have come yesterday. Or, that tooth was scheduled for a cavity a year ago, you lazy dumb bastard. And then they say, well, we can't see because it sounds like it's going to need an extraction or a root canal, and it's already 4, and we close at 5. And they, it's like, what an entitled idiot. What if the hospital did it? You show up at the hospital having a heart attack and they go, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, we close at 4. I mean, can you imagine a fire truck pulling up to a fire at 11:55 and say, well, we're not going to park and pull the hoses out. Lunch hours in 5 minutes. Healthcare is doctor stuff, and it has an emergency room. And when someone calls up and says, I'm in pain, I can't eat or sleep, well, suck it up, buttercup. You're going to see him, and you're at least going to triage him and get him out of pain. It's either going to be a pulpotomy, extraction, but it's not going to be just, sorry, we're all going to go home and eat pizza while you suffer. And so these going back to your so again, that's morale from the head down. And dentists want their staff to do that, and the owner's the last one in the office and the first to leave. And I was the first one in the office and the last to leave, and I just won't do lunch. And when dentists, and everybody wants to do lunch, I say, look, dude, okay, you want to ask me one question, it'll take 5 minutes, so why am I going to drive across town, do a bunch of eating and all this shit? What do you want to know? I just for time management, I won't do lunch. And they say, well, I really need to tell you in person. Okay, now I know you don't even know what you even want. This is just a sales opportunity, a scratch and sniff, lotto jacket. You don't even know what you want. It's one thing to waste my time, but you want to waste my time without even knowing why you want to waste my time. Do you have a question? Do you need something? Tell me right now. It has nothing to do with eating and chewing and burping and farting at a restaurant. And my gosh, so in these groups that you do, or is everyone in the group working the same 19% of the week? Or has a group allowed you to open more of the 168 hours in a week so that you have more availability to the consumer?
A little bit. We're open Saturdays, so that gives us the extra day. We're open kind of generally from kind of 8 to 6 p.m. So we're not we don't open till 8 or 9 p.m. We definitely close our offices at 6, and we open some Saturdays to take care of some of the weekend emergencies. So it's allowed us to see more because you can't work 6 days a week. I think as a dentist, that at some point that turns into a tough time on your back and the rest of your body. But it does allow us to have, when you have multiple dentists in an office, to see more patients over more hours. And so there are more hours because. But
does TREC? Like when 7-Eleven, they have 7-Elevens up there in Canada.
Yeah.
You know where the name comes from?
Well, it was supposed to be open from 7 to 11.
Right. So they all knew their hours. And it blows my mind. You go to most of these franchise places, everybody knows their hour. I mean, they're 6 to 6, 7, everybody knows their hours. So does TREC Dental have signature franchise hours? I mean, is every location have the same hours?
No, they're a little bit different. So just because, again, because of the partners, right? I mean, we have some different needs, and we have some people that'll work even later just based on their family needs. And so each clinic gets to set its own hours. Again, we're really not a top-down organization. That's why that 50-50 works in certain situations. I mean, each clinic gets to set its own hours, but each office is open for 9 hours a day. So that's the case. As long as they have, as long as it's not only one person working, as long as there's 2 people on, it's open 9 hours a day, and we're open Saturdays. So,
Man, I just wish I knew how to capture more what you're doing, because I mean, I go to Dental Town. I mean, the biggest threat on that thing is suicide. Another one is burned out. So when I was last year during the pandemic, I got the opportunity podcast interview the president of the American Dental Association with his executive director. I thought we were all going to go into COVID-19 and all that stuff. And it was a fast pivot to they had an erupting suicide problem. And some of these suicides, I mean, like a lot of suicides are obviously all multivariable. There was a study in Canada where they did like 100 suicide victims. Like 15% of them had a viral infection in the brain that had shut off the serotonin receptors. So there's infection involved. There's substance abuse. There's loss of loved ones. There's financial. It's a lot of multivariate stuff. But man, I was seeing like the all-American dentist who was successful, trophy wife, 3 kids, a farm and a barn, and go out in the barn and waste themselves. I mean, it was kind of weird. And you always see dentists, the lie has always been that dentistry has the highest suicide rate. I guess they've never heard about the 19-year war in Afghanistan where 23 American soldiers suicide every single day while the dentists get out the world's smallest violin and play, we have the most stressful job in the world and the highest suicide rate. Yeah, I'm pretty sure getting shot at in Afghanistan is a little worse than that. So all that in dentistry, and then here's you, little Dalai Lama of dentistry, and your websites, the socially conscious dentist, the World Partnership Walk, the Dentistry for All, the Kindness in Action, the Mustard Seed, the Operation Christmas Child, the I Read, the teamwork, team rowing, pictures of you and your team all rowing. My stomach just cramped just looking at them rowing that row book. Team paint night, and they're all giggling and laughing, and the team cook off, and respect and exceptional dentistry. I mean, my God, you're like the exact alter ego of where the dentists are at.
Yeah, I think people forget that they get so caught up in some of the stuff that you were talking about. Is like, well, how many crowns did I get today? What was my production? And when you actually throw all that out and you just say, you know what, we're taking care of patients and we're going to have some fun doing it. And we're going to turn around, we're going to give back, and we're going to get our teams together, and we're going to have fun with our teams. It's been a lot more challenging during COVID trying to have fun with your teams because you can't go anywhere and you can't do anything. You can't eat at a restaurant. But, one of the things that we've always focused on is take those numbers out of it. Stop worrying about production. Stop worrying about, what you're doing at the end of the day. Start just concentrate on the patient, do the best you can that day, have some fun with it, take care of your team. Honestly, truly take care of your team. Do stuff that makes a difference. I mean, the part that drives me bananas is people say, oh, we take care of our team. We pay them to have a yoga class. It's like, okay, yoga is important, but did you actually do the yoga with them? Well, no, why would I do yoga with them? They pay for them. They can go to yoga class. Well, you're the one who's going to shoot yourself. Maybe you should do some more yoga. So, you get involved in doing things with your team. We take our team, down to Guatemala. We take our team to Mexico every year. And I had one of my friends say, I do everything to forget about my team when I walk out the door. I finish my work and I don't want anything to do with them until 8 o'clock the next morning. Why would I want to hang out with them for a week in Mexico? And I said, well, you probably got the wrong team, because I like to hang out with my friends in Mexico for a week, and my team is part of that. I mean, it's the family you choose. And I think people forget that. You get stuck with the crazy cousins. You can't get rid of them, but you get to pick your staff. And so if you don't love the people that you work with, you probably have the wrong people that you're working with. Go find some new people to work with. And when you create that environment and you get the ability to give back, I mean, it truly makes just such a difference in how fulfilled you feel, or help somebody do something, mentor somebody. I mean, it doesn't really matter what you end up doing, but if you stop thinking about yourself for a second and you start thinking about other people, your life just suddenly gets better. And it's not that hard to do. Dentists are lucky. I mean, we fortunately make a good living. I mean, turn around and you do something with that. But what we do is we try to help our staff do that. We know the staff don't have money to do things, so we give them opportunities. One of the fun things that we did, and I think every office should do that, we said, who wants to lose 5 or 10 pounds? And everybody's like, I want to lose 5 or 10 pounds. We said, in your closet, go take 5 or 10 pounds of your clothes out and let's go donate it to a shelter.
You talked about what donuts don't work, but I want to go to you. I think if anybody know, it'd be you at an anthropological level. What motivates individuals?
I think it's that level of respect, really. I mean, I think at the end of the day, we want to be well respected, right? I mean, I think people want to look to you as to a level of, intelligence. I mean, people come to you as a dentist because they think you know what you're talking about. But I think that giving back is what truly motivates people. I mean, if you listen to Simon Sinek, and I don't know if you like any of his work, but Start With Why and the rest, the one thing he said is when you actually help somebody, the interesting thing is it actually affects 3 people in that situation. It affects the person that you helped because you did something. It affects you because people saw you felt it. You actually got that experience of helping somebody. But the factor that people don't realize is the person that saw you help somebody also feels better at the end of that. And so you can affect 3 people by helping somebody. You see me go to Guatemala and help somebody, it makes you feel better, even though you didn't do anything. You sponsor somebody and somebody else knows about it. People say, well, why, you don't necessarily need to talk about all the crazy things and the amazing things that you do. You should just be quiet about it. People will notice what you're doing. It's like, well, no, I want to motivate other people to do more of that. My why is giving people the reason to live well and give back. That's my goal. I want you to live well and I want you to give back. And if I get anything across, it's like, hey, eat a little bit better, walk around the block, have some vitamin D, and go do some socially responsible work. You can do that, you'll live a better life. I mean, it's that simple, because that intrinsic, that feeling that you get when you help people, you can't put a price on that. It's impossible.
So I have to admit that on this Guatemala thing, the guy who turned me on to that was Jerome Smith in Lafayette, Louisiana, a long time ago, and he was asking me to go down there to Mexico and do this thing. And I'm like, are you out of your mind? I have an office. I got 4 kids. I'm busy. But I just, I couldn't tell him no. I just couldn't come to tell him no. So I went down there. And my God, that was the first Nirvana experience I had, because I was 20, whatever. I had 4 kids, bouncing off the walls, doing all this stuff, and lecturing and writing books and all this stuff like that. And my God, it was the first time at night where you could actually see the Milky Way, and you would sit out there after a 12-hour day and you'd watch those mothers standing there with their babies in line in the rain all night long. They're not going to lose their place in line. They walked for days and days and days, and my gosh, you just realize, to me, it was the biggest reset button in the world. I realized my biggest problems didn't even exist. And this is how humanity has lived for 200,000 years through 2 ice ages. And you saw what mattered. That mother was going to stand there in the rain all night long with her baby, trying to give that baby the best advantage it could have to replace it when she dies. I mean, that's the whole thing about life.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, those are the resets that make all the difference. You see what people are willing to do to get a dentist to help them. Like, it blows your mind. And life always gives back, and it's kind of a great story. So on my 6th trip, I ended up going to Peru for the first time. I've gone to Guatemala 5 times. 6th trip, one of my other partners, he said, well, we're going to Peru. Why don't you follow me to Peru? So I said, okay, well, let's go to Peru. I came home with a wife. She was from Edmonton, so she wasn't from Peru, but she was one of the hygienists on the trip. I now have 2 beautiful boys and a wife because of a volunteer trip. I would have never met her had I not gone on a trip. So it's like, it's that circle of life and what life gives back. In Peru on a volunteer trip, but she was from Edmonton. She's just 3 hours north of here by car. But I would have never met her if I hadn't been on a volunteer trip in Peru. So you give back to the world. It's amazing what turns around and what you end up with not trying, right? I mean, it was
So
amazing.
so she's a dentist too?
She's a hygienist.
She's a hygienist. So she married up and you married down. That's what I said earlier. Women always marry up and the men marry down. My gosh, I just proved myself right there. Well, my gosh, I don't know how. I mean, I feel like I just need to get your message out to more people. I mean, here's a 20 dental clinic DSO group practice that is it's the first one I've seen where just integrity comes first. And the other thing that rubs me wrong about these DSOs is that when healthcare started it was always quality came first. It was the Mayo Clinic, it was the Cleveland Clinic, it was the Scripps, it was the Sloan Kettering Feeding. I mean, when the hospital started out, now they're just just corruptions. I mean, the government sat back for 20 years with both houses coming in and out of the White House, the Congress. So if you love your donkey more than your elephant. Do you love Bonnie more than Clyde or Mickey more than Mallory? I mean, they're all sociopaths. But they just sat back and did nothing while the MBAs went and conglomerated all the small town hospital chains. So where you had 2 or 3 hospitals, now they're all owned by one and the prices went up. And they just did that across all of rural America. Well, the price of healthcare went up, all this. And now the government's saying that we got to raise our taxes to help pay for this. Dude, you're the one who got rid of competition. And now what? Now we're supposed to pay you more taxes for how you just sat there and watched monopolies form right underneath your own nose for 40 years. And so many small town dentists were talking about it on Dental Town for the last 20 years. Like, well, I can remember when we had 2 hospitals in this town and they competed pretty hard. Now they're both owned by the same HMO, and then that was bought by the insurance company. America, but remember, have faith in America. We always do the right decision when we've exhausted every other opportunity. When it gets finally down, there's only one door left. Damn, it's the right decision. But I need to get your message out more because my dentists, they're scared. They're the pandemic. They're drinking more. They're depressed more. They're suicidal more. They're killing themselves more. And then here's this nirvana. And I hope some DSO, here's what I hope some DSO does. I hope some DSO just goes after the Mayo Clinic and just tries to be, like let's say I'm a consumer and Joe placed an implant and Harry redid it and Karen said it needs to be redone. And I just want to go to the best place. Well, I live out here in Arizona. People come to the Mayo Clinic from Africa, Uganda. I mean, I go up there and my God, they come from every corner of the world because they know quality comes first, end of story. And no DSO, I've seen no group. There's a lot of individuals, and of course, they think they're the greatest because they have no competition. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. If you say you're the greatest cosmetic dentist, well, whatever. I'm the greatest nutritionist that ever lived. But an institution, no one has set out to build a DSO institution that mirrors the Mayo Clinic, the Scripps, the Cleveland Center, any of that stuff. And then the obvious DSO, which I wish you'd move to America and just start down here. Someone needs to go put a DSO in the emergency room of every hospital in America because they're so insane that if you go in there with a brain tumor, they can do that. They'll put you down and they'll remove the brain tumor. Have a heart attack? Hell, they'll do that. They'll do a heart transplant. This tooth is rotten. What? What would we do there? How would we would have to summon the force, it's like a tooth stops the entire hospital that can have a helicopter land on it. How do you have a helicopter come in and amputate legs and do brain tumors and cardiovascular bypasses, but nobody in that whole building can remove a premolar? That is just like totally bizarre. And I'll tell you this, I've negotiated this before. You go into a small town, Pew Org, they've done all the research where there's not enough dentists. They show you all the counties that don't even have a dentist. I tell you several dentists that went to that county, and I told them, I said, you go talk to the mayor of that town, and you say, I just went to First Street in Maine, and there's like 5 buildings boarded up. Who owns that? Oh, they're abandoned. Okay, I want one of them buildings, full tile. I don't have any money. I got $400,000 student loans. I want a signature loan to put this in there. The best paying jobs in that town are $10 an hour. And when they're all done, they got a free land and building on Corner Street in Maine that might be a 100-year-old, brick building. They get a signature loan even though they don't have any assets but $400,000 student loans. And they have no competition, so they don't have to sign up for any Medicaid, Medicare, no insurance, nothing. And $10 an hour will buy you the only 3 people that could read in that town. And they're just, I mean, they do like $1 million the first year, take home $400,000. And my gosh, go where they ain't. Another rule of thumb is get about 2 hours away from wherever a Southwest Airlines plane lands, because none of the people are going in the rural. And and then after that, same thing. You walk into a hospital. Just walk into the hospital administrator and say, man, when your room gets backed up, how would you like to stand up and say, how many are here for a dental problem? And 1 out of 10 hands pop up. Okay, let's clean out the waiting room. Okay, you guys, you need to go down that hall, go to the end of the hall and turn left, and there's our dentist. They will give you the space. They'll probably do your build out. They might even go 50-50 on the equipment because they want to clean out their triage room. They can't have this gazillion-dollar business to find out that it's a toothache. It's a failed root canal. Wisdom tooth needs to come out. So there's a lot of opportunities. Just keep going. Just remember, keep one eye on the patient, one eye on cost, make everything faster, easier, higher quality, lower cost, and smaller, and you'll knock them dead. And thank you, Mr. Jan Dalai Lama of Dentistry Jaffer, for coming on the show today and talking about all things on the why. I mean, really, it's been an honor to podcast you. If you ever have a video or something, or want to make an online CE course for Dental Town, more people need to hear you. And it was an honor to podcast you. And I hope I don't have to wish TREC Dental success, because it looks like you're well beyond luck. You're creating your own luck. And thank you so much for coming on the show today.
I appreciate your time, Howard. That was awesome. It was great to talk with you.